Awesome. So welcome everybody to the webinar we're doing with MyOutDesk on getting lifetime value from long-term follow-up. I want to say thank you, Daniel, for coming and doing this, and obviously a lot of value that came from the webinar we did a couple weeks ago. Myself, I'm Chris Tamm. So Daniel is the CEO of MyOutDesk. I'm the chairman and founder of Firepoint. And kind of the goal of this, I want you to walk away with a lot of information you can take and implement. Daniel will talk about how you can get a copy of this and a copy of what it takes to implement it and kind of walk through. But Daniel, do you want to take us away with it?
No, we're definitely going to give away a copy because there's going to be a lot of value today. If you're a real estate agent or a broker, having a team or building a team, this presentation is basically going to focus on these three areas. Determining what a client lifetime value actually is, and then the system to help hold you accountable. And you really means you, maybe it means your sales team, maybe it means all of the folks involved within your system, your business. And then we've also got a really cool case study around how to build a sales system. So those are kind of like the goals. And Chris, we're going to start off by just talking about lifetime value. We looked up some stats before this thing, and I've had some conversations with clients. And what's great about lifetime value, it really puts in perspective how much a client who loves your service is actually worth over the lifetime that you're in business. And this one particular stat just like kind of hit me, and I'm sure you're going to appreciate this, Chris, and all your listeners. But NAR said 9 out of 10 realtors fail to get repeat business after they actually sell a home. So whether you're selling or buying a home, that client, one of the challenges in the real estate space is the moment you get your commit, you get paid, right? You get fired. That's one of the hardest things is like, okay, transaction closed, here's your money. And now you have to go hunt for another client. And as an industry, we're kind of, constantly on the hunt for the next piece of business. But this webinar, we're going to focus on how to extract the most dollars out of every single client over the lifetime of your business. And so NAR says 9 out of 10 fail to get that repeat business. And, most folks move every 7 years, and on average, there's 5 different transactions in a lifetime of a person, and so that represents $40,000 in commissions. So, on average, throughout the country. And so, as you can imagine, like as an industry, we're really failing to get that repeat and referral business. So, we've got some really interesting slides around that too. Chris, you got anything to add on that one?
Yeah, I think kind of from a personal experience, so being in the industry and closing hundreds of transactions a year, we focused on a lead machine, which we were very good at getting the leads, converting them, buying more, and we had great returns. The negative parts of that is for the first 3 to 3.5 years of the 4 years that I was in real estate running the team and growing it, was we never called our past clients, and we never called a lead that was more than 10 days old. We had this just, everything was built around these new leads and converting them and then just not focusing on the past. And then I look at, and we were closing 400 transactions a year, and then I look at Gabe Cordova, who's the president of Firepoint now, used to be a client of ours. He was closing over 800 transactions a year, and he was doing more than 50% of his business was from older leads, past clients. Not how we were doing it. So it's like we could have been doubling, tripling our business if we had really had more of a process around this. And I think leads are so easy to get, and they're so easy to convert sometimes if you're doing things right. People forget about really putting the process in place with, those past clients and really kind of working the database and working things long-term also.
Yeah, that makes an absolute sense. And in fact, one of the next slides focuses on that. And this slide, it's interesting because if you think about what we're doing per hour, when you're constantly on that kind of new lead kind of, hamster wheel, you're just constantly calling and trying to get people, it's dialing for dollars. You're just trying to get people to convert, right? But in this presentation, we're going to try to slow you down and change the focus of what you're doing per hour, remove the busyness so that you're getting more done and it's a higher dollar productive thing. And the place to kind of I want to introduce you guys to Toril. She's a client of MyOutDesk, and one thing that she went through was a similar situation, and she has a similar business to Gabe's. Last year, she did 170 transactions, 60 million in volume. What I love about this story is I just got a chance to meet with her a couple weekends ago. I was in St. Louis, and we sat down, had coffee, and just visited for, almost a couple hours, actually. And here's what she said. She said, anything that can be done virtually should be done virtually. And what I love about that is that she has virtual assistants that help her focus on her referral business. So Toril no longer works inside of a real estate team. She has 12 salespeople. She has 4 virtual assistants. And those 4 virtual assistants handle everything from like marketing to listing coordination to transaction coordination, the management of the CRM and their data and generating leads and converting those leads online. And all she does is she manages the team from afar. She no longer goes on listing appointments. She no longer meets with buyers. She's no longer in the office every single day, like, running her team. And I think the reason is because of her events and her focus on referrals. And so just like Gabe Cordova, who, did 800 transactions, Toril in the last 18 months, part of 2016 and half of 17 has generated 643 guests, people who show up to her events. And that's a big deal. And these are all past clients and sphere of influence. And because of that, she's had, more than 150 referrals in the last 18 months inside her business. So when you talk about, as a company, when you think about like lifetime client value, we don't spend enough time on past clients. We don't actually spend enough money on past clients either. And so this is a great example of something you could do. She had a barbecue at her home. She did latte giveaway. She had a pie giveaway during the holidays. She did a March movie kind of madness. So, there's just a lot of opportunity. And part of this conversation today too, and Chris is going to jump in right here, is like you've got to have a system for your referrals, and you have to have a system for follow-up. So Chris, talk a little bit about the Firepoint, like this is what you suggest to clients when you're thinking about lifetime value and building a system to kind of generate referrals.
Yeah, absolutely. So if I could jump in and share my screen here, I'll kind of share through as I'm talking.
Doing that right now, man. Here we go, rock and roll.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so kind of what we're going to talk about is the best practices from Firepoint clients, which came from, again, from my business, a lot of teams across the nation, their businesses, what they were missing. And the first one is the system of staying in touch is, and you can do this in different systems. It's not only about Firepoint, but it's easiest to show what we do every day, is this idea of a campaign. So do you have a system where you are going, where every touch that you're going to make to stay in touch with these people, post-close and long-term? So if you never did business with them, kind of my take and our take on real estate is when you meet somebody, it's not about doing a transaction with them. It's do a transaction with them or get a referral with them sometime in their lifetime. Because even if they're a renter, their brother might be buying. So building relationships, staying in touch, saying what can you do, helpful messaging, all of that stuff. But the idea of a campaign, so like a short-term buyer campaign, or if it's post-close. If we jump into, say, like a short-term buyer campaign, going in really quick and saying, hey, we're going to, in 7 days, we're going to send emails about offers. We're going to minimize stress. We're going to put tasks in here for the phone calls, for the text messages we're going to send out. Everything that you do is built ahead of time, that here's my plan for taking care of these people, so it can be executed like what Toril did. It can be executed from afar, where you could have somebody just coming in and helping audit the process and seeing are people doing it. So first part would be have a campaign or have somewhere where all these steps are going to automatically happen. And then the next piece is going to be, how does it automatically happen? So are you using something like a lead distribution system where when you're distributing a lead, and again, you can do this in other systems, but when you're distributing a lead, you're saying, hey, this campaign is automatically going to start. We're going to automatically start this short-term buyer or this post-close when something happens. So again, you're automating the process, and then you're helping other people audit the process to make sure it's working correctly. So that's the first two pieces. So one is the campaign and having all of your steps that's going to happen on everybody standardized. And again, we can help you with that. MyOutDesk can help you with that. Second piece is make sure that things are firing at the right time. So when leads come in, the right things that are firing, or when something goes to close, the right things are firing. And the last piece of it is this idea of accountability, that you have somewhere that you can go and look and see, hey, whoever's following up on those past clients, how many tasks are overdue? That, hey, Katrina has 9 tasks overdue. Let's find out where those are and what's happening. So are things falling through the cracks? Or especially this piece is a big pitfall in a lot of our clients, but it gives them the ability to see it, but we can't be their manager for them, is how many leads are in their database that have no tasks to follow up in the future. So they closed somebody or they lost touch with somebody. Who's doing that follow-up and who's auditing these agents to make sure that, hey, these 4 people with no tasks, who's following up on that?
Right. You know, I got a chance, so I'm right now traveling with my family in Yellowstone, and I got a chance to meet a Navy guy, and he was a recruiter for the Navy. And I think it's a really pertinent conversation here, because one of the largest areas of failures that we run into, Chris and I both, with our clients, is just the accountability piece. So within your system, there's a lot of accountability. But then the other side is, you know, as a real estate broker or the owner of the team, you really have to, overdue tasks are just not acceptable. The reason I bring up the Navy guy is because, the Navy used to be very cut and dry. Like, as a recruiter, his job was to sell people, and think about his job. Like, we're selling homes. This guy is converting young college or high school people to go for 4 years to Iraq or Afghanistan. I mean, imagine that. I mean, like, what a sales job, right?
Yeah.
And they have quotas. So, I mean, everybody has quotas, and they have activities. And he said, look, if you miss your quota, but you do all of your activities, you don't get fired. In fact, you even can, in some cases, get promoted, because we understand that there's going to be changes in what's available, and in terms of high school graduates, there's going to be changes in appetite for going to war and joining the military, right? And I thanked this guy for his service, and we had a 2-hour conversation about sales. I mean, literally, this just happened like 2 days ago at the KOA. And it was a great conversation, because our entire government with the military treats their sales force exactly the way us real estate professionals ought to. If you miss your numbers and your activities off, you actually can get kicked out of the military. And so it's the same concept in the real estate world. If they're not doing their tasks, or they're not making the calls, or they're not having the conversations, or they're not getting the referrals, then I think they don't belong on your team.
Yeah, and I think that's a really good point. And we have like some clients, I'll share without names or anything, but we have a client that I'm working with to kind of just go through their system. And what we did is really simple stuff, like go in and kind of show how you can do this through any system. And we did this 5-minute spot checks, kind of like what we just said, is like look at accountability page, click on something and just deal with it. It can be short things, but it makes a lasting impression on the company to keep improving stuff. One of them was we went here to the leads page and we filtered for their Zillow leads, since I know we're going to be talking about Zillow and like some things that you've done with Zillow leads. We went to their Zillow lead and we said, hey, let's look at the last 10 Zillow leads that came in, and we just went through and we opened 10 of them. And all we did was look for 3 things. We looked for, and again, some of these are test leads, but we looked for the last types of communication. So did they text, did they call, did they email, and how long from the lead came in did it take? Are there tasks to follow up in the future? And then was there a safe search? And we did that for 10 leads. And out of those 10 leads, only 2 of them passed the test. And that's the idea. Like these can be $8,000 to $10,000 transactions each, and they're taking 4 hours to follow up, or 12 hours to follow up, or they're calling once and emailing 3 days later, never texting, there's no task to follow up. And these are like, again, you can spend 5 minutes really quick and just spot check your database and get a feel for, are you on top of it or are you not? And that's not even looking at like the accountability pages, campaigns, anything, just are your salespeople doing what they need to? And I feel like as real estate agents, a lot of times we're not trained sales managers. We're really, most of the time that we're not. We were a good salesperson, now we're trying to build a business. And so we kind of abdicate that responsibility and we say, hey, I'm going to hire them, they're going to do what they need to. No way. Every star salesperson still has a star sales manager that holds them accountable and helps them through things. And the team leader has to do that, whether it's from afar. And even, I remember talking to you, you were saying that there are virtual assistants that work for MyOutDesk that actually do kind of the report cards and help teams manage their agents and see what's going on with them.
Yeah, it's a big deal. Toril is a great example. She shared with me her entire scorecard for each of her 12 agents. And I mean, it had in how many referrals did they make, or did they get this year? They had how much commission, how much net profitability, how many calls, conversations. I mean, it's pretty crazy. But Chris, you said something, and I think I need to reinforce this point because it's the most powerful. Speed to lead. The first call, when a lead comes in the door, and then you call them within 5 minutes. Like, I don't know about you, but that's the most powerful thing as a salesperson you can do, right? I mean, if there was no other metric, is that the one thing you would track?
That's it. Yeah, it's do you contact them in the first 5 minutes, and then the only other metric after that is do you keep trying to get a hold of them. But if you don't call them in those first 5 minutes, I mean, you just lost 80% of your shots. Yeah.
I was talking to another client, and he's got a couple of our virtual assistants, and his sales team, when there's a sign call, it goes through the system, and it rings to all the 12 real estate people on his team. Like, he has a big team. Yeah, actually, I think his total team was like 27 or something like that. And the whole team found out, and this is a great thing, the whole team found out that if you had an AT&T cell phone, the call would start faster. So half of them had Verizon, some other, but so the entire team shifted, and they all have AT&T phones because they know that those sign calls, just like when a lead registers online, it's the most powerful thing that you can do is just pick up the phone and have a conversation.
Yeah, and that's money. I mean, that's the definition of a money phone. That's a cool story. Yeah, and that's one of the issues that when I was running a team we used to have is that when we did the first blood, same thing goes to everybody. And somebody would be like, well, my phone doesn't ring for 10 seconds. Well, the reality is it's about the business first and not really our problem. And so, yeah, I like that story.
Yeah, it really is a cool, but speed of lead matters. And I think, some other kind of easy text now, if you're listening to this and you're considering building a sales team, text is actually growing at, I want to say it's 212%, meaning it's the new email inbox. So if you're not texting, I think that's a big mistake. We got a lot of callbacks from our text messages, and so when we were doing this program that we're going to talk about in a second, and then the other and I love this one too. We trained our salespeople to call morning, afternoon, and evening on day one, because not everybody is available at the same time, and people work, and you only leave a message at the end of the day, not the first couple times. And that 3-call thing is pretty killer. Okay, good. All right, here we go. So yeah, we're going to talk about this test. We did this 4-month period test where we actually ran, we had 30 different real estate agents across the country that were Zillow Premier. And so we kind of alluded a little bit to this, Chris, but we did this test across the country, 30 different agents, and what we learned was pretty interesting. We set 909 appointments over a 4-month period, which was killer. We did that for $12 a lead in leverage costs, meaning we were using virtual assistants, and then we paid $40 per lead. So for $52 a lead, we set over $224 million worth of real estate commissioned, income appointments, which is total crazy cool. And so we've got some information for you guys as you're listening, like who should be making the calls, what day and best times to call, what scripts they should use, how to hand them off to a licensed person. We have some really good, these are the things that you need to do to make it work really at a high level, and these are the things that you can fail at as you go through this. So we'll keep going through this stuff. Now, Chris, Firepoint has the built-in text messages, built-in dialer. You can send emails, all of that, and you can set it up so that every single lead gets all of that stuff, right?
Yeah, so you can do the auto. It's like when a lead comes in, you can say, hey, wait, If it's during the daytime, we want a certain text message to go out 2 minutes later. If it's at night, wait a minute and say, hey, we'll be back to you first thing in the morning. So you can customize like the instant text responses, the emails, the tasks or phone calls. And then the big piece on that, that accountability is, the calls being made through the system so you can coach through them. Because when you look at really any lead, if you're not doing that sales management, that coaching piece to help people say the right things, sometimes people just get lazy and they start asking the yes, no questions or giving the easy outs to consumers.
Yeah, we called it cherry picking in our business because they're like, there'd be 10 leads that were, the good ones, like, tons of commission. They were buying a big house in a nice area, and they'd be like, they're calling those leads a lot, but then the other ones they weren't calling. So yeah, I totally know what you're talking about. When you talk about coaching, like, break it down. Is it like coaching on what to say, or is it coaching on what to do, like activity-based coaching, like holding them accountable, or what are your thoughts on that?
Really good question. So when it comes to the call piece, we usually go through this idea of sales management where you have to meet with your agent once a week, even if it's over a phone call for 10 minutes. Just a quick check-in that, you're their boss. Once a week, you should be spending 10 minutes with them on a phone call. It doesn't matter if you're in the same place. But when you do that, you pull up their accountability page and you play 2 random phone calls from that week. So you look at a couple leads, you play 2 phone calls, and that gives you enough content to usually work with, to make some suggestions, to go through, to beat them over the head. Whatever it is, some are really good and some are really rough. But most people won't do that. They just do the check-in like, hey, are you okay? Or what do you need? The reality is being a manager isn't just saying what you need. It's also kind of inspecting a couple things. And then we go the route also of the weekly, and I know you and I talked about this, about the weekly sales huddle, where you get together with your sales team once a week. And what we always said is you play 2 random calls from the team every single week. That scripting. In the sales business, scripting is so huge. You keep it top of mind, front and center for everybody. And those 2 random calls, it could have been somebody presenting an inspection notice. It could have been a lead calling in. You just say, hey, pick a call. It's over 30 seconds. Because even if it's only a minute long, that could have been, they botched the first 10 seconds of that call. And so the person said, no, thank you, and hung up. So those calls are really important, even the short ones, to say, you blew this because they said, oh, I already have an agent. You just said, okay. No, not okay. You say, well, are you finding what you're looking for? How long you've been looking? You keep asking questions, see if you can engage them. It's a sales job, it's not customer service. So for us, it's really the coaching through the calls, and then the coaching from the accountability thing, the accountability piece. We say that the team leader, the admin, has to check that accountability page once a day, again, just for 5 minutes to see what are the fires that are happening. And then usually once a week, kind of drill in a little bit to each person and say, hey, what can I help them on? So it's really from a support, not from a big brother standpoint. Yeah.
Well, I think I like what you said, the reviewing calls. One of the biggest things, if you're listening to this and you're not a Firepoint, client, you should be, number one. But number two, if you're using a third-party CRM, most don't have a built-in dialer with call recording. And so you've got agents like on a cell phone, you got agents using maybe a Mojo dialer, and another guy's using a different dialer, and there's no consistency. So one of the things that I would suggest, and I'm sure, Chris, you agree, but make sure there's a systematic phone for the entire business, that every call is recorded for the entire business, so that you can pull up information and look at a dashboard and really know what's going on. One of the challenges when you have a phone system and a CRM that's separate is like linking those back to each other, and that's a problem that Firepoint solves really nicely. But it's really imperative that you're able to go in and coach people from a recorded call, so that you can help them simply make more money for their family, put more bread on their table. And as an industry, we definitely need a little bit of this.
Absolutely.
So this is just some stats, and I like this, and I'm just going to leave this up on the screen so you guys are watching. But this is really, really, some of this is heartbreaking. Like the percentage of people that fail to continue after the 3rd attempt. People that stop trying. What we train our folks is that it takes 5 to 12 contacts. And Chris, I don't know what you tell clients, but it takes a lot of conversation to have somebody make the largest investment of their life possibly with you. And so, I share this mostly with our team just so they understand how many conversations it's going to take before somebody's like, okay, yeah, I really do want to sign a buyer broker agreement with you or a listing agreement with you. And so this is just a great slide. I hope you're watching, because I think it's real good content for your team to help them understand the difference between what real success looks like and the average agent.
Yeah, and really quick, catch up in on there really quick.
Okay, let me go back.
From being in sales in corporate America, it was always 80% of your sales come from after the 7th contact. And so really when you're making that first, second, 6th contact, yeah, you're trained to look at it that I'm not getting the sale from, these are the warm-up contacts that I need to go through and keep the relationship strong so I can get to contact 8, 12, and 14. Because when you're looking at, like, especially an enterprise sale, which a home sale is a lot like an enterprise sale where you're building a relationship for when it's the right time. They're not always doing something today. And so if you change that mindset and say, like, hey, these first 6 phone calls, I'm not getting any business from. I'm warming up my pipeline for that 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th phone call. And if you do get business out of it, oh, that's gravy. It's amazing. But people kind of have it shifted in real estate. They say, like, hey, if I don't get business in those first 2 or 3 phone calls, I'm not going to call them again. That is from corporate sales. That is absolutely insane. You normally don't get business on those first phone calls. You're doing it to warm your pipeline up.
I agree. In fact, the next slide, which speaks to this, when you meet someone, whether it's on the phone or in person, the very first thing they ask is, can this person help me? The next thing is, do they care about me? Like, are they genuine, right? And then the last thing, can I trust them? And the reality is, if you're going to build a sales organization, a sales mindset, you have to put away this concept of, like, commission breath, right? Yeah. I'm going to go after it. I'm going to get my 2 listing appointments every day, and then I don't even care anymore. What you have to go into with a mindset is, like, how am I going to serve this client? What am I going to do to take care of their needs? Like, what's in it for them? What can they get from working with me? And too often are we kind of on that, I don't know, treadmill of commission. So anyways, this is what somebody will ask when you're talking on the phone. So I like repeating these things. Look, I'm simply calling here to make sure that your home search is going well, or I'm simply calling here today because I noticed that your home didn't sell and it makes me feel horrible inside that you probably needed to sell and you couldn't, and I really feel bad. I hope that we can have a conversation and we can find a way to, you could trust me to work with me. But in the meantime, like, tell me what happened, So I like, coaching my folks through, I'm going to help you. I care about you, and you can trust me. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm going to help you through this process of either selling your home or buying your home. Some scripts. And this is actually good stuff because we're going to give away LP Mama. I'm going to tell you why that's really cool for everybody who's listening. So LP Mama is location, price, motivation, agent, mortgage, and appointment. So what's the location of the area that you want? What's the price range? Are you pre-approved with a mortgage? You're trying to set an appointment. These are the I hate scripts, but I like having a flow to kind of go over with your either buyers or sellers on the other line. Like, why do you want this location? What is important about this price? Have you already figured out what your monthly mortgage payment's gonna look like? When were you thinking about actually making this move? Are you currently working with an agent? And by the way, do you have a house to sell? Chris, we were talking earlier when we were getting ready for this, 40% of home buyers are actually sellers. And you had a crazy stat on this. What was that stat?
So the stat was, when I was in the business running the team, we were spending $80,000 a month on marketing. So huge marketing budgets, buying, tons and tons of leads, thousands. And 38% of all of the appointments that came from pay-per-click leads, which people usually look at forced registration buyer leads on a search site as a buyer lead. 38% of all of our appointments that came from those leads were listing appointments. And what we found with that is, because those leads are further out, they're usually not doing a transaction in the next 1 to 3 months. Some do, but they're kind of 6, 9, 12 months out. they were less likely to have a relationship with an agent who was going to sell their house because they were just starting the process of where they wanted to move. And so they were easier to get in and get the listing appointment from. So it was actually our highest return on investment from a listing standpoint was buying long-term buyer leads and then turning them into listing appointments and just asking that question. Hey, when you're looking to buy, do you have a house that you're looking to sell? And you don't have to push it like, hey, let me get in there right now. But now you know it, you start dripping on, you start working that angle as well.
And what I love about that, you know, when the internet, and I don't know if you guys are like old like me, I feel old, right? The internet wasn't around when I first started selling real estate. I mean, it was, but we weren't. I mean, smartphones weren't even invented yet. Like, I had that funny flip phone, right? But when we first started with buyer search sites, you know, people would start looking 3 months out before a transaction. But now, with all the information, all the different websites, you know, everything from Realtor.com to Zillow to all the neighborhood pages, you're seeing, you know, buyer behavior stretch, you know, 1 to 2 years. So they'll start looking 1 to 2 years out now. I mean, Chris, you probably have a great stat around this, but I mean, one thing that you have to realize is you can't start this and not give it the due time it requires. You know, we stopped at one of those little ice cream shops on the way here, and I loved it. In the window, it was a small little like soft serve ice cream place, and it says, "Hey, you know, quality takes time, and we're going to make sure it's quality, but you're going to need to give us the time to make your meal." You know, and it was just a restaurant, right? But I think if you're intending on building a quality business that is fully focused on sales and converting and really scaling your business, you have to give, you know, this process the time it deserves. And I would say that's at least a year of working through these things.
We kind of go through the same piece. Is we're always coaching our clients that if you're going to do marketing, you have to give it 9 to 12 months and stick with it the entire time. And it'll start maturing, and you'll have those couple that'll come through. But you have the guy that has 3 transactions in month 2 from it. It could be normal, it may not, but then somebody else hears that, gets in, and 3 months later they don't have a transaction, so they shut it off and they start putting their focus somewhere else. Like when you're building a pipeline, you're nurturing the entire thing, and too many people just focus on what can I get out of it in the short term, whereas like these are all leads, they're all people that have a buying behavior, and you need to nurture them all for the long term, and business will come out of it if you're doing it.
Yeah, I agree with that. Well, you have experience in this, Chris. I mean, you were spending $80,000. I bet you there was a ramp up to that. I mean, what did you see as the time frame for a return on investment? Was it that 9 to 12 months?
That's yeah. So it was on the pay-per-click side. What we did is we tracked kind of like what you can do in Firepoint is it tracks your time to convert. So we tracked every lead source differently. So our average on Zillow was like 111 days, I think. And so we knew if we were going to make a change in spend, we needed to wait 4 months until we stepped back and started to judge it. But if we were going to make a change in our pay-per-click spend, we had to give it 9 to 12 months to judge it. So we had the history because we were tracking everything in the system to know how long they took. But like from a pay-per-click standpoint, yeah, it was 9 months to a year. And it might be a little bit longer now. I've seen some that say 12 to 18 months for some transactions. But yeah, depending on the lead source, and even Zillow has a lot of great stats where how many people drop the ball on the Zillow leads even after 2 or 3 months, even if 5 or 10% convert, those other 90% are still going to do something in the future, but everybody stops following up.
That's right. Well, and even your clients. I mean, if you think, you know, I just sold a house, and you know, 3 to 5 years later, they're going to do something. And if you
Absolutely.
put them on a long-term campaign where you're staying in touch, you're giving them calls, you're sending them invites to, you know, client events, I just think it's pretty powerful. We also from NAR we were able to pull some stats. So if you're again, this is a slide thing, so if you're here with us, please look at the slides, and we're going to give them away if you jump to our landing page at the end of this. We've got a landing page, a bunch of free offers. We're going to give away the scripts. We're going to give away a complete copy of this slide deck. So everything that we've talked about along with the recording so that you have some context. But what I love about this slide is it comes directly from NAR. It's a value proposition. So folks that register online, 61% of them say they want help to understand the process, point out unlisted property features, improve my knowledge of the area, provide better list of service providers. You know, these are the things that online buyers actually want. And so as a salesperson, going after listings like Chris's 38% or 40%, which is kind of the norm, you can actually print this slide out, put it in front of your computer, and when you're making calls, ding, somebody actually negotiate a better contract. 44% of everybody's going to ask me, the real estate person, to negotiate a better contract. So I know if that's important to them, they might mention it, and you might hammer on that point home with them. They're like, look, I'm really good. I'm going to help. I'm going to represent you better than anybody else in the world. I know what I'm doing. The other guys don't sell as much. I mean, that might be their thing. So this is just a great slide to print out for your sales team. Get them educated on, how to actually speak to these different points. And then the majority of online buyer leads or seller leads, because 40% they're going to want some of this information. So I think this is a great slide.
Absolutely.
We also did, and I love this. So we did a case study. Zillow actually hired us to run a beta test for them across 30 different markets, where we had their premier agents who are spending $10,000 a month with them generating leads. We funneled all those leads into our CRM and our follow-up system at MyOutDesk. And for the first time, because we're really a staffing company, Chris, I mean, what we do is we help talent in the US, like really smart real estate teams and leaders who are wanting to build a team. We help them find talent in the Philippines. We match those two talented people, and we extend our movement, which is kind of the MyOutDesk vision of the future of where we're going, right? But in this one case, because it was Zillow and we thought there was a lot of opportunity here to prove that Zillow leads are good, we went ahead and we did this 4-month test. And in 1 month, we had 740 leads. We set 274 of those leads had an appointment in the same month. So that's a staggering 37%. And we also found found a significant amount of them had a house to sell. And what was cool about this system, we got a lot of failure points and we learned a lot. People worry about Saturdays and Sundays. Real estate, the majority of the people we got a hold of came Monday through Friday. The times, these are the best times, meaning most of our appointments were set between 12 and 1 and then between 4 and 6 p.m. So when you're building out your sales process, I would say these are really key times to cover. And again, 7 to 7 was what we ended up deciding to cover, meaning when a lead came in, our expectation was that they were called in 5 minutes. In this particular month, we actually got them called within 2 minutes. Now, we had 5 of our virtual assistants running this program, and we had a bunch of leads coming in, and we were following up on all the leads in the previous and past months, and even some of the old leads from the Zillow Premier agents. But we got to learn a lot around this, and this is the basics of everything we've learned about. And so one thing, if you're listening, this is really important. This is really, really important, because we're talking about how to squeeze more money out of the lifetime value of your clients. Basically, how to make more with the clients that you already have or that you've already bought, because once a lead is bought, it's bought, But Zillow, one thing that they do, and they're the first billion-dollar company within the real estate world, all of their salespeople, and they have hundreds of them, are required to do 228 minutes every single day of prospecting. Chris, that's a phenomenal number, right?
Yeah, it's huge. I was even looking at when we had telemarketers, they were supposed to spend, 2 to 3 hours on the phone each day. And so when you talk about 228 minutes, almost 4 solid hours, there's always the between tasks, the responses. That is a huge amount of outbound prospecting.
Well, and that's the thing, is they had to be prospecting or on the phone, and the way they do it the same way you do. I mean, if it's a 30-second or more conversation, that basically counts as conversation, because then somebody just didn't hang up, right? But so either they're dialing to talk to people or they're talking to people. And so they have hundreds of salespeople, and they're the first billion-dollar company within the real estate space. You know, Firepoint and MyOutDesk will be the second and third, but
Absolutely.
I'd like to think so. That's where we're going. But on average, the next thing is we had conversation to appointment ratios, and I think why this slide is so important is if you just took this one slide and said, okay, this is what we're going to shoot for as a company, and over the next 12 months you focused on nailing all of these pieces, I think it would transform your business.
Yeah.
So the conversation to appointment, so we had a 35% success ratio over the 4-month kind of beta test that we did for them. Appointment show-up ratio, this is one of our clients who uses virtual assistants, and it's a good ratio. So when you set an appointment, they were having people come to the office, and this was their show-up ratio on those appointments, and then appointment to broker ratios, and then lead to close. So 50% of the leads that came in and ended up coming into the office, 50% of those had a close ratio. And then dollars, we had a wide range of different lead sources, but it ranged from $10 to $100. So if you simply took this slide and said, okay, I'm going to shoot for all of these different points, it would transform your business.
Yeah, I think that's huge. And from the tracking standpoint, I know a lot of people say, hey, I just need to make more calls. I mean, and that is probably true, but knowing your numbers, I mean, is so huge. I mean, if you're a sales manager has to know their numbers, even if it's once a month, so you know where your pain points are. And yeah, if you took this slide and once a month you went through and just manually did your numbers, and don't do it by lead source to start, or do it by lead source, you'll start to see where you're falling apart. Because if your lead to close ratio is at 30% or your show up ratio is at 30%, you can tweak some of those things and drastically change all the numbers after that. So yeah, I haven't seen a lot of people that really take these numbers to heart and can say once a month, here's what's happening.
Well, and why we have this slide is that our virtual assistants can actually, once the system is built, where you say, okay, this is how we're going to measure, this is how we're going to connect the dots, a virtual assistant can run this. I mean, our virtual assistants for Toril completely doing this, and I think you're right about the ratios with Jason Secor. We worked really hard on creating tie downs that the virtual assistants were working on for the clients so that they would actually show up. I mean, things, I'll give you an example. One of the things that we worked on was like, look, hey, I'm going to have you meet with, Paul in my office. Paul just happens to be one of the most busiest agents in, Sacramento, where my hometown is, right? He's super busy. And so I want to set this appointment, but I want to make sure that it's convenient for you and your wife. And so, let's double check your calendar. Let's make sure I'm going to give you the address. I want you to get it on your calendar. I'm gonna call the night before just to make sure we're still good for that time and remind you. I'm gonna email you also directions and all the information, the pre-listing package, so you have everything you need. So when you come in, we're really helping you quickly, and you filled out all of our questionnaires. And so we worked with them to create a system around making sure people showed up and came to the office. I mean, look, when somebody who wants to sell their home drives to your office to do a listing appointment, that's a different level of commitment, right? I mean, that person really needs to sell or really wants to sell and is really convinced that you can help them. So if you just follow this would be a big deal. Some failure points, and Chris, I'd love your perspective on some of these, but there isn't enough leads in your database, or you're not generating enough leads, you're not recording every call, you might not have enough buyer's agents on your teams, or even listing agents, right? You're not doing a daily or weekly huddle. We talked about that. The handoff isn't smooth. This is a really important one. We believe strongly in the ISA model. We think that when you have one singular focus as a real estate person of meeting clients and taking listings and negotiating deals, and everything else is handled by someone else, because guess what? The three things I just mentioned are the highest dollar productive activities. We think those other things should be, just like Toril, handled by virtual assistants or staff. And so the handoff has to be, really smooth, because the ISA isn't the person that's going to meet and actually eventually ask for a signature and a commitment. In this next one, the no activity level measures for buyers agents, and no follow up afterwards. You'll probably like this one. We have a client who, pretty large guy. I think he's doing 300-400 deals, kind of like you were, Chris. And we were talking about his virtual assistants the other day, and I asked him what he did after the sale and what he did to measure his team's success, both in the listing side and the buyer side, and from the administrative side, right? So did we help you get all the information you need or whatever? And he had nothing built up. And he was thinking about it, and I'm like, dude, just have your virtual assistants do this. And call after the close and make sure they have all their utility information because they've just moved to a new home, right? Call, make sure they have everything they need from like the title people, and they have copies of it all, and let them know that you've stored them and also sent them a zip file of it. Set up every home is going to have a home warming party. So organize that entirely for your seller. So not only can you help the seller when they move into their new home, because moving is hard. I don't know, it's been like 12 years since I've moved from my last home, and I never want to move again. But if you can help them do a housewarming party, and then you get to meet all their friends and everybody in their network, and then you get their information. I mean, it's like these are the kind of long-term follow-up things that you can really squeeze the lifetime value out of one particular client.
Yeah, and I think there's so many like nuggets that are here is like this list. So we had the previous list, and there was even a tie down I was thinking of that I used to do in the business is we had an issue with show rates sometimes. So we would say, hey, right after we do that handoff, which ties in here, after the handoff, the agent that's going to meet is going to call them right away in the next like 15 minutes and say, hey, Daniel, just want to let you know, I look forward to meeting you tomorrow. Just want to see if there's anything that you need. Let me know. I'm going to shoot you an email so you've got my contact information also. And then I look forward to seeing you tomorrow at 4, whatever that was. And that tied into the call recording because we'd have ones where they would say, well, the guy didn't want to meet. Okay, well, let's listen to that call really quick. And what happened on that call is the agent valued their time so much and they were so kind of full with their business. The agent would say, like, they wanted to buy a house. The agent would be like, so are you pre-qualified already? No, you asked that when they're at the table sitting in front of you, not over the phone. And so they were short-circuiting the process, but that call recording, without knowing that, that's where we said like those calls had to be made through the dialer because we have to listen to how that handoff was made and handled. And also that last call that the telemarketer made to set the appointment was recorded so the agent could listen to it and hear all the details if they wanted to and kind of hear what it was like. Because if they said, well, the appointment was no good, well, go listen to the call. The appointment was great. Something just happened. It really wasn't the ISA at all that caused any issues. And so like the leads, all these different parts, and even like challenging on the lead things, there are times where there aren't enough leads for the number of agents you have. But the other side to that is, are all of your leads from the past getting handled the right way? I mean, can you say that every lead from the past is getting those phone calls, is getting the events? Because a lot of times we have a database, but we just want to work with the new leads when there's gold already in our databases. So yeah, I completely agree. If you're not doing all these different things, my gosh, the daily and weekly meetings with your sales team and with your agents, those are so valuable, but nobody, for the most part, nobody wants to do it. And so it's kind of like, here's all the things I wish somebody else would do for me and I could just cash the checks, but it's hard work. You do the activities and then you cash the checks.
Yeah, it is really tough to get in those meetings. And if any of this feels overwhelming for someone, or if you're listening and you're like, you want more, because these are like the high level points and every market is different. Every person's system is different. The way they do deals are different. So if anybody needs help with this, not only if you go to firepoint.net, but if you go to myoutdesk.com/Firepoint, we're giving away basically a strategy call around how to make this happen. Because this is good conversation, Chris, but when it comes to the nitty-gritty, like, people need to create a plan for themselves. And so we can help build this plan together. We can kind of acknowledge where you are today and help you get to where you want to go. And also in that process, if we're able to help with a virtual assistant, great. If not, that's okay. But we'll definitely give you like the scripts that we use, the system that we have. Firepoints can, I mean, look, their system, everything's built in, which I think is phenomenal. So we'll leave you with a couple quick things, and we have a bunch of free offers. Don't go anywhere. So when you hire a virtual assistant from us, we do an FBI grade background check. We do employment and education checks. We do references and personality check. We use something called Market Force. And then we only hire experienced people, meaning if they're a prospector and you're hiring from us, that's because they've spent their entire career being a prospector. If they're an admin, if they're a project manager, if you need somebody to just kind of warm up your existing database and you need somebody to call through them and like really just kind of connect, we have people who that's what they do on a regular basis. Expertise and employed, so that means you're not getting some somebody that has no training. Expertise, they have third-party verified training to be like a transaction coordinator and a listing coordinator. Like they have training. And they're currently employed in like a project management type, administrative type role. So these are the things that we do. One thing that's crazy about us is we have tons of applicants and we end up really hiring a very small percentage of those people that come through the door. We're super picky and we're proud of that. And because you went through this presentation with Chris and I, we have some free gifts. Chris, you guys are giving away the setup fee. Normally, you guys charge a really decent amount to do a setup fee, and so you're waiving that setup fee if they mention this MOD webinar, right?
Yeah, so if you go through and you're looking at the Firepoint system, normally we have a $300 setup fee, which helps cover your training, your setup. We go through and help you set up your site and go through that entire process. And so a way that you just have to go through firepoint.net and use the promo code MOD for MyOutDesk. Or if you already scheduled a demo, just let your salesperson know you came through MOD or MyOutDesk, and that'll get your setup fee waived.
And you know what I love, and I want to reiterate it. When I was doing this thing with Zillow, I had to build my own dialer into our CRM. We had to use apps to be able to text message and email. We had to do that. But if you're considering creating a sales team where you can hold people accountable and actually do it, I mean, Firepoint's already built it for you, right? Yeah,
everything's there. And that's the idea of when everything's in one place. If you're a sales manager, you usually don't have the attention to go look in 4 systems to see, did the transaction coordinator do what they needed to in your transaction management system? And is everybody on safe searches in your MLS? And is all your text messages being sent through maybe a text message system or looking at their phones? Everything has to be in one place so you can spend your 5 minutes, look at it, and make the changes you need and move on. If not, you're going to spend hours every day doing the same functions that you could spend a couple minutes if it was all in one place.
That's right. Yep, I love it. And wait, there's more. I love saying that. It's so funny. We also have a partnership with salesdialer.com. If you're not using Firepoint, you should be. But if you're not, we have a partnership where you can get a 90-day free trial. We also have a marketing platform called Listings to Leads, which is a great listing management marketing kind of things. And so we're giving you a 90-day free trial on that too. Land Voice, if you're prospecting inside of, for expireds and FSBOs, I think if you're not, I think you're crazy, because if there's 100,000 homes in your city and 20 of them expired, those are the 20 people who wanted to sell. They have real motivation and they couldn't. And so I think they're some of the best leads out there. So Land Voice is doing a 90-day free promo. They've never done this before, but they're doing it with us, MyOutDesk. And if you mention, again, this Firepoint thing and MyOutDesk and you want business in a box, then you can go through this and do it. There's a lot of conversation in this, but we also have 5 strategies. So we have not only videos, but checklists around how to implement a lot of really killer strategies for your virtual assistants when you hire them. So we have an open house strategy, which is phenomenal. We have a marketing strategy that is great called Boom Strategy, a neighborhood niche. So if you want to dominate one particular neighborhood, 4 steps to attract, and the ultimate Facebook post for generating business for free online on Facebook. So we have all these strategies that we're also giving away when you decide to become a client, and it's really not that difficult. what you'd want to do is go to our website, myoutdesk.com/Firepoint. And the people that should are those that are either have a team now or building a team. And what we do is called a 7-figure agent roadmap. And basically, we'll take you from where you are today, and we'll figure out where you'd like to go. And we know all the steps between. So we'll help you set up a sales system. We'll talk about the leverage that you need. We'll talk about every system that you currently have and what you might need in order to break through the next level. And because you go to this landing page, what's cool about this is it's a free strategy session. So you're not spending money. It's just the only risk you have is really your time. And we're going to give you a copy of this webinar. And we're going to give you a copy of the scripts, the LP Mama scripts that are, in my opinion, I mean, look, we got 37% conversion rate on it over 4 months. So I think it's great. And so we're going to give those away for free just because you come to do a strategy session with us. You don't have to be a client. You simply have to go. And if you register here, Firepoint's giving that away. Chris, what would you like to take us home with, man? What are you thinking around all this stuff?
I think just taking home from the idea of accountability and process is hopefully people will walk away saying there's a lot more ways to deal with the process and the headaches. Like one of the things that you said is when you're looking at that slide where there's all the different things, it can be overwhelming. It doesn't have to be. And kind of like how we try and show people like that accountability screen in our system can be overwhelming, but it doesn't have to be. If you break it down to, if you're using MyOutDesk to have them create the scorecards and help manage your business and help send you the updates of what needs to happen, or if you're going into Firepoint and clicking and just saying, I'm going to spend 5 minutes and tune something up, everything starts in steps, but you have to do it. You have to take action on the scripts or on the process, or just take the one slide and put that on your wall and start chewing through and dedicate 10 or 15 minutes a day to it. Just block the time and do it. Because most people we talk to, when somebody has a challenge in their business, it's very easy to go in 5 minutes and see all these holes. But it's hard to get them to take the time to start filling the holes. It's easy to diagnose, and it's tough to go through the actual treatment process. So just taking the time, I mean, sign up, go through the process, get the dialogues, get the scripts, get the slides, and just start chipping through and going through the process.
Yep, that's great, Chris. Thanks for your time today. I love this stuff. I have so much fun when we do these kind of things. And if you're listening today, again, just jump on myoutdesk.com/Firepoint. We're going to give you all of this stuff for free. We appreciate your time. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you.